Welcome back, guys. We're sitting here with Matt Behrens, C3 Group.
Yep.
What are you guys, the largest Denver-based public adjusting company?
We're one of the
largest
in the entire country.
And who's who's your main man here? Director of Public Adjusting?
Yeah, it's Taylor Bezick.
Director of Public Adjusting here at C3 Group.
Nice. So guys, we're sitting here today, a lot of contractors watching this. This is a course on, large losses in public adjusting. Half the guys out there don't know what a public adjuster is. I mean, you got two dilemmas in the industry today. We try to teach these guys that there's a time and place to use a public adjuster. You can't use them on every claim. There's not enough of them. How do we get more knowledge and information out there to contractors in the industry about what a public adjuster does, what they do, and how to get them connected?
Well, I think the biggest part is finding one that's good at what they do. There's a lot of PAs out there.
There's some bad ones too?
In every industry,
same in our industry.
Yeah, exactly. But the final one that is really going to take the workload off of you, I think, is the big part. Like we talked about, we were at lunch not too long ago, right? And we're talking about how contractors tend to try to do everything. You want them supplementing, you want them looking at the jobs, you want them running material, in addition to meeting adjusters and running supplements and all that stuff. But it doesn't allow your sales staff to really go out and sell. It's what they're really, really good at.
Mm-hmm.
So
knocking doors, signing deals.
Right.
Or building jobs for that matter.
Contractors do incredible work at sales, building relationships, and then doing the work. All that in between, it's part of the overhead that they just don't need. So somebody like C3, somebody like some of the other public adjusting firms out there that are great at what they do, they're going to take the time burden off of you of investigating the loss, of meeting the adjuster,
documentation, codes,
full
policy interpretation, exactly. All that kind of weird stuff that
right.
bogs the contractor down.
Exactly.
Right?
So this is a little bit more specialized towards what is covered, what's in the policy, how do we investigate it, is the damage we're seeing covered or is it excluded, and then how do you price it properly.
So now 10 years, and I got in this business in 1999, and you might find, I thought I was pretty knowledgeable in the industry. I'll admit, I didn't know what a public adjuster was until Hurricane Wilma, probably the first time I ever met a public adjuster. So for the first, 7 or 8 years in the industry, never ran into one, never knew one existed, never really knew a public adjuster actually operated with customers in behalf of, I kind of knew about them, but I had no idea what they did. There's probably a lot of guys like me today running around out there that still have no clue, and they may not even know how to get a hold of a public adjuster in their immediate state or region that would service them and their customer.
Yeah.
How do we connect those dots as an industry?
Well, I think first off,
because that's a big elephant in the room is supply and demand, right?
Well, and the reason that you didn't hear about them until a hurricane is most public adjusters, especially back in that day, were working fire, they're working pipe breaks, they're working hurricanes. They're not working hail. There's a lot of guys that thought we were crazy for doing hail work. So that's one issue. That's why you found out about them with a hurricane. But essentially, there's a couple various ways that you can find out about who we are. I mean, obviously the Facebook pages, social media, we're all over the place there.
Well, it's definitely changing now.
Yeah.
I think especially the last couple conferences, I think the industry is becoming aware of the role of the public adjuster. There's a lot of state statutes now that there wasn't 10 years ago that's forcing guys like, oh, that's a public adjuster. Oh, I can't say this to a carrier.
And the funny
I can't say I'm an insurance claim specialist. So now there's actually fines that are, I need to learn what a public adjuster does and when and can I use them. So I think the industry is changing and evolving.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing you say that is that there was a claim down in Colorado Springs that we worked a couple of years ago where the contractor was told on a $500,000 claim, we're only going to pay $25,000, and he's trying to argue it. And the adjuster said, I don't have to deal with you, you're not a public adjuster. And so it caused that contractor to search out what's public adjusting, found us, and we ended up settling that for $525,000. So just by that one call, that one connection, and the insurance companies are pushing it, saying, I don't have to listen to you. It's ridiculous.
I think it comes down to a math issue, for the guys watching this. Look, if you got 100 claims, it takes a lot of work just to get 100 claims signed up. I say claims property owners or rebuilds. We say claims, you're going to have to deal with the insurance claim at some point, right? So you got 100 claims. Now your $10,000, your $15,000, your $20,000 residential claims. There's plenty of damage. A, B, C, D. You probably don't need a public adjuster in a lot of those unless there's a problem, right? And there's not enough public adjusters to service all those anyways. But we start talking about when you've been denied, deferred, delayed, or we talking about what we're going to see later today, a $3 million loss that you turn from full denial with the contractor walk from the job to a $3 million approved loss. I think those large, if you're going to pick, if you're a contractor, you're going to pick some of your bundle of jobs to bring in a public adjuster on. Man, bring in the ones that are experienced in the 3Ds. Bring in the ones that when you go out there, man, I haven't dealt with this before. This is going to have code issues. This is a large loss. I know the insurance company is going to put their foot down, right? This is the time to bring that public adjuster in ahead of time before you get those big ones, and then set aside those more complicated claims for that public adjuster, because that's going to alleviate those problems.
Yeah.
So you can focus on sell, build, collect. Sell, build, collect as a contractor, and let the guys like you deal with some of that complicated code coverage and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's your severe underpayments and your denials that are really where we can effectuate change. So, like, we were looking at some of this material earlier. I mean, this is a claim that we got involved in that was roughly a $5 million loss. The insurance company only paid $780,000, so the contractor brought us in.
$780,000.
Yeah, this one.
And you got it to $5 million.
Yeah. So
Wow.
they brought us in for that one.
So guys, that's simple math. What's 10% of $5 million?
$500,000.
$500,000. What's 780,000? 780,000. So the increase there is substantial. That 10% is nothing for an increase from 780,000 to 5 million.
Right. Well,
All day long.
It was a little bit smaller. They were roughly at $80,000 or $800,000 when we were involved, or when we got involved. I ended up selling that for a little over $2 million.
And that's 10%. It's going to cost the total claim $200,000.
It's $200,000, but
$200,000, but it went
work for $1.8 million.
And it went from 800,000 to $2 million. So guys, again, it's a math issue to bring in some guys that actually want to do that complicated work, and sometimes it makes sense to shovel that over.
Yeah.
And from a contractor's standpoint too, your alternative options are either walk away from that job or spend an inordinate amount of time and energy in trying to pursue that claim further.
Which many do walk away.
Yeah,
Just like
exactly.
what we're going to see today when we go out to that big cedar job,
Exactly.
walked away from the job.
And Anthony, when you're talking about the delay, the denial and defer, you know, a lot of times that's the glass ceiling that these contractors run into too. Where as a public adjuster, we can come in and apply the policy language to overcome those objections on the insurance carrier side and take these claims to where we're settling them now.
So, I think it's better that some of these guys, and it's good, we do the wind and storm conference and all that. Some of these guys connect with you guys before the big storms hit, so they already have you in a Rolodex. They can bring you on from the beginning, so it's not, I don't want to say muddy the waters, but sometimes guys muddy the waters before they bring the public adjuster out, correct?
Right. Yeah. I mean, oftentimes we're getting involved after 2 to 3 inspections, where they've exhausted all of our options. We have no real leverage because all the inspections have taken place. The insurance companies had a chance to essentially build their defense.
Or worse, the
bring in
contractor
experts.
cut a deal, maybe agreed to some pricing,
Yeah,
and then they hold you against that. And hey, he already said he'd do it for this.
Yeah.
And do you guys know you just lost $200,000 in code upgrade coverage because he agreed to that?
Right.
So you get a lot of issues there if they don't
That's nobody
understand.
watching this video, though.
No, not you guys. Guys, the other elephant in the room, and it's really a macroeconomic issue. It's supply and demand. Let's take Texas for example. There were 800,000 claims filed last year in Texas between San Antonio and Dallas. There's going to be a lot more now from Houston, right? There's 883, give or take 5, licensed public adjusters in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
On a macro, so there's a lot of bad contractor. You can't say this. You can't do this. You can't deal with Mrs. Smith on this. At the end of the day, we have to all admit that there's a macroeconomic issue of supply and demand. And Mrs. Smith, who's calling a claim in at midnight, there's not going to be a public adjuster necessarily for that $10,000 project available in Denton, Texas at midnight. The insurance restoration contractor, the roofing contractor, the general contractor are oftentimes compelled to operate. I don't want to say acting as a public adjuster. Hey, your roof's leaking, it blew off from the wind, you need to call your insurance company and file a claim. Sure, be happy to meet them out here. Now, just by saying certain things or some state statutes and some people on the very conservative side of the totem pole that say, that's acting as a public adjuster, you assisted Mrs. Smith in filing a claim, when in a sense, there's nobody else for Mrs. Smith to go to at midnight. So one of the problems I see in the industry is educating contractors on what they can and cannot say, and hopefully get their contracts compliant so they don't lead into fines.
Right.
That's actually a branch on a tree. The bigger problem is, how do we get more public adjusters to service all the claims across the United States? Licensed public adjusters or technology to reach all these lower claims. I call them the under 50,000, which by the way is 95% of all insurance claims. So we have a supply and demand issue to conquer.
Yeah. Well, and I think the funny thing is you do have insurance sales guys, or rather roofing company sales guys that really enjoy the argument with the insurance company.
Absolutely.
Right? Maybe they like that better than they do with the actual sales aspect.
Sometimes they
and
do.
And all that. Come work as a PA. We need those type of people. We've got to build.
So is that a change going on in the industry where you guys are trying to ramp up, hire more people, get them involved? maybe create a school and career or some kind of
Right.
virtual training platform for public adjusters? I mean, is there things moving in that direction in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Okay.
there's a couple things that keep popping up. I don't think any of them are the solution yet.
Yeah.
I think doing some type of value add series where we're able to train public adjusters on a mass scale.
Massive scale,
that's gonna be
especially with all these big
helpful.
storms. I mean, we had Harvey.
Yeah,
We got
Irma
Irma coming in. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of claims, and we know there's not enough licensed PAs to go around
There's
state
not
by
even
state.
enough licensed insurance adjusters to go around.
Right. Maybe they'll let the contractor start doing both. Get rid of the IA and the PA.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
All
it's not even just the licensed PAs, it's the support staff that goes along with that, the investigations, documentation, the follow-up. I mean, you could have 800 one-man PA shops, but if they're not able to, keep up with the day-to-day of each one of their clients.
Somebody's
they're
got to
gonna-
go document, investigate, and,
Right,
and deal with the
absolutely.
situation,
Yeah.
even write the estimate. So there's definitely a time and place to use a public adjuster. Learned a lot of good things here today. Let's go take a look at that $3 million loss. Is that nearby?
Yeah, it's right down the street.
There's a Cedar Shake, right? That's one of my favorites.
Correct. Zero to complete denial to a little over $3 million.
All right, guys. Matt's going to take us out on a full denial that he got to a $3 million claim. Massive commercial Cedar Shake roof. See you soon.